Hey, how's it going? Go and get over here. I got my fire in the background. It's nice and warm. Got my tea. I'm drinking this sweet and spicy tea. It's a little spicy. The spice went down the wrong tube. How are you guys doing tonight? What are you doing tonight? Hey, Dad. I see your picture. Dad and Lori. I'm talking about shoes tonight. It's gonna get crazy. Just kidding. Or am I? Dad, are you watching from Sisters, Oregon? Where are you watching from? So I have a pretty a funny story that God used in my life, and I've actually been talking about it recently, using it as examples as I've been mentoring. And anyways, I thought I would share it tonight. Hi, Diana. Hey, we need to connect. After we get off this live, message me your phone number and let's connect. Hey, Jocelyn. Wait just another second. My daughter's going to be walking in here in a minute. Ryder, don't bark. Like, my dog might bark. Hey, puppy. It's okay. Don't bark. Anyway. All right. So, I have this story from my past that I have been using lately when I've been mentoring people. And I believe I might have shared it at a masquerade also, but it's just something that kind of keeps coming back up as an example as I am working with people. And I thought, you know what? I think more people need to hear this. And so, you know, there's that story in the Bible of when God used a donkey to speak to a person. And he always, you know, he also talks about how, you know, if his people won't praise him, he'll even make the rocks cry out. So he can use anything and anyone to be able to speak to us. And something that he used in my life to speak to me were these shoes. And so I wanted to tell you about a story, and I want to see if there's anything in your past that God has used to speak to you. And if not, I want you to start, you know, at least opening your eyes to the fact that he might be able to use something else besides the word of God, or besides, you know, a normal way that you're used to maybe hearing from him, maybe through sermons or whatever. I want you to open up your, you know, open up your mind, open up your heart to see that God could speak to you in other ways. And so, anyways, in my past, part of like who I was, or my identity, was my looks. And I really prided myself on my looks, you know, being like a diva and being someone that, you know, guys were attracted to. And I would spend hours and hours, you know, getting ready. In fact, I would spend 2 hours a day getting ready. And it was, you know, all about from tweezing my eyebrows to, you know, making sure my hair was perfect, my makeup was perfect. I didn't go out of the house without being completely, you know, done up as if I was going out on a Friday night. And I was always like that. And the way I looked was basically like a stripper. That was kind of a normal look of mine. In fact, people would ask me all the time, like, so where do you dance at? And I actually took that as a compliment, because that was kind of the look I was going after, either looking like a stripper or a porn star. And I know that for most people, like, ew, why would you want to look like that? But those were the type of women I looked up to. Those were the type of women that I thought were beautiful. And the guys that I hung around with, those are the type of women that they liked. So I always tried to look like that. And so, you know, my looks all the way down to my shoes were really important to me. And I, at one point, after going all in with Jesus, I was, my laundry started going. I'm like, I hope that doesn't start going off center. I'm like washing all my rugs right now, so it has a tendency to go off center, so I might have to run down the hallway. But anyways, I should have put my daughter on laundry detail. Anyway, so I was several years into my healing, and one of the things that the Lord, helped to strip me of was my vanity. And that was something I worked many years on, and trying to re-identify myself as still being pretty, but not being slutty. And really just trying to see myself through the Lord's eyes. And I don't want to get too off topic here, but I stopped doing a lot of things, like I stopped wearing makeup, and I stopped dyeing my hair, and I completely changed my whole wardrobe. And I really wanted to strip myself down to how God made me and really be validated in how God made me without having to do myself up all the time. And so I went through this phase of what I called Mary Had a Little Lamb. And I really struggled with my lack of looks. I struggled with my lack of getting attention from men and all of that stuff. And so I went to him and I said, I must be going off topic right now because this is for somebody else, because this is not how I was going to approach this, but whatever. I'll still get into my other story. Anyways, so when I was stripped of my looks, of the look that I used to have, I remember going to the Lord feeling like I had nothing, feeling so insecure. And I went to him and I was like, Lord, do you even think I'm pretty? I don't even know if I'm pretty, Lord. Do you even think that I'm pretty? And that took me down. I probably went down that road for a couple of years of really just getting my validation from the Lord and having him affirm me being completely natural in my looks. And during that process, I kept getting rid of more things from my past. So I got rid of all my Harley Davidson clothes because they were attached to certain memories with my ex, and they were not good memories. And even though every one of those, even a t-shirt was $30, I got rid of everything because it reminded me of that part of my past, and I didn't want to be that girl anymore. And so it was part of me throwing away my old identity. And there was one thing though that I hung on to, and that was my shoes. And I had 30 pairs of high heels, and they all were heels that looked very similar to this, and strappy high heels and super duper sexy shoes. And I remember every time I would look at those shoes, they were hanging on the back of my door. Every time I would look at them, I would remember the different things that I did in those shoes and with the different people and all the different things. And a lot of those feelings, it either gave me a prideful feeling, a pride in the way I used to look, or it would give me a sick feeling, I remember what I did in those shoes, And, looking at those things from my past, when it gave me the pride, I remember, when I used to get the attention like that. I remember going to the club and wearing those shoes, and all those guys were all into me. And I remember that part puffing me up. But the other thing that I remember in that same thing is that I was comparing my new self to my old self. And I wasn't really comparing myself to other women. I was comparing myself to my old self and going, see, now that was hot and this is boring. And I had a really hard time letting go of that part of my past, letting go of my identity as, being pretty or being hot or being a diva. And so, it was those shoes were kind of my last thing that I wasn't letting go of yet. And I all of a sudden had this conviction from the Lord that I needed to get rid of them, all 30 of them. And it was so hard for me to get to that place. I did not do it right away, okay? He put it on my heart. He convicted me. He told me I needed to get rid of it. He gave me different scriptures to go along with it, old things pass away and behold is a new creation. So if I'm a new creation, why do I need that? And I was just like, oh my gosh, this whole Christian thing, it's so, I'm struggling with how plain it is. I'm struggling with being plain Jane. I'm struggling with being Mary had a little lamb. I was just really struggling with the looks part of it. Even though I knew that I didn't really have to look like that, I knew that I was doing it on purpose to really try to strip myself of my flesh and strip myself of who I used to be. So I knew it was a season that I wasn't going to always live in, but I was like, get rid of my high heels? What? So anyways, so I did. And I actually threw them all away. I don't think I actually even gave them to Goodwill. I think I literally just threw them all away. All 30 of them. I had no more high heels left. And so anyways, I went for several years without buying any high heels. I think I ended up buying one a few years later, but they weren't the kind that I used to wear. So anyways, fast forward, now I'm married to Matt, and we were married for maybe a year or something. I don't know. It was within the first year or two. And we had gone to a mall in Medford, and I kept checking out these shoes. And I was just like, oh, I love these shoes. I was like, oh, well, can't wear those anymore. And my husband was like, why can't you wear those kind of shoes anymore? I was like, well, because. And I kind of told him the story. I used to wear those kind of shoes when I used to go to the club. Those were my kind of shoes. And he's like, yeah, but you're not that girl anymore. You're different now. You've been made new. So why can't you wear shoes like that anymore? And I was like, well, because what if I wore them and somebody was like, oh, she's up to her slutty ways again, or oh, what if she's trying to take my man, or whatever. What if people look at me and think something like that? And he looked at me and he was like, babe, no one looks at you like that anymore. In fact, when I look at you, I'm like, I can't even believe some of the stories that you tell me about who you used to be. You're not that girl anymore. And so if I look at you and I can't see who you used to be, what makes you think anyone else can see that old girl? You wear shoes like that now, and I think people would just go, wow, those are really awesome shoes. And it didn't really sink in. He was saying that, and it sounded good, but there was still something in my mind that was attached to those types of shoes represent that type of girl or whatever. And so anyways, we left them all, and that was it. I never really thought about it again until Mother's Day, when I opened up this box of shoes and there were the shoes that I tried on in that mall. And Matt had got them for me for Mother's Day. And the note in there, the card said, here is the beginning of your righteous shoe collection. Here's the beginning of your righteous babe shoe collection. And I was like, what? And he was like, you're not that same girl anymore. So you need to start getting shoes like this because you still love them, and wear them proudly, knowing that you are righteous. And so this was the beginning of my righteous babe shoe collection. Now, if I were to take you back into my closet, you would see I probably have another 30 pairs of shoes now. But I don't have any bad memories in these shoes. I didn't sin wearing these shoes, at least knowingly sin. I didn't do any dirt wearing these shoes. These are completely made new, and it's a new girl who's wearing these new shoes. And I have been using this example lately because I have a lot of women that I work with that are struggling with stepping into their new creation, stepping into who they actually are now, instead of dragging that old girl with them, be like, no, I can't do that now because that's what I used to do. And so people are going to think this, or people are going to think that, or whatever. But no one thinks that when I wear shoes like that. If they do, no one's told me. I haven't really seen anybody's looks or whatever. I wore these at the Unmasquerade on New Year's Eve, and I got lots and lots of compliments, and I didn't see anyone looking at me like I was being slutty or like I was trying to hit on their man or whatever. I just looked pretty that night, and I looked pretty fancy that night. And so I'm not sure who needed to hear this, but I really felt like I needed to come on and do a live, even though it's not Friday or whatever. I just really felt like somebody needed to hear this tonight. And especially the part when I went off track and started talking about that season I went through of really letting go of my old self and really like stepping into who I am now and getting that validation from the Lord. Somebody needed to hear that. That was definitely for somebody. So it goes along with something that my niece gave me for Christmas. So I'm gonna hold this up. And I don't know if it is gonna be backwards or not, if you guys can read it or not. But it is a piece of wood that she like burned the edges, and then she like burned, you know, this high heel into it. So she just gave this to me for this Christmas. And it says, "These heels were made to stomp the devil out." How cool is that? So here's a girl, here's a young lady who is now my niece by marriage. And she made this for me, like, knowing that I like to wear high heels, but she doesn't see me, you know, wearing high heels and go, "Oh, wow, she's really trying. Oh, wow, look at her being slutty," or whatever. She doesn't see that. She sees a godly woman who wears heels and stomps the devil out. Like, what? That's my new identity. That's who I am now. And so I don't know what it is that is in your past that you have believed for a long time that you had to leave there. Maybe it is your looks. Maybe it is high heels. Maybe it is, you know, a job or, you know, whatever. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. I'm not gonna pretend to know what it is. I know specifically what this girl was struggling with that I was working with this morning. But she felt like, oh, I got to leave this type of job in the past because it made me a certain way and blah, blah, blah. But this girl has done so much work over the last year. I'm like, that's not who you are anymore. You did the work that you needed to do. Now you can step back into it. It's okay. It's not an ungodly thing, but the way she went about it was ungodly. Well, she's changed her ways now. She is a new creation. And I told her, I said, you know, you need to really embrace the fact that you are new now. You are a new creation, and you need to embrace that and receive that and start walking that out just like I am. And so I was able to like use these shoes as an example for her that, you know, I'm allowed to bring some of those things back in. Now, I'm not going to bring sin back in, but I can bring certain things back in like shoes, and I can learn how to use shoes in the appropriate way now and not use them to glorify my flesh. I can use them to glorify God and wear them at a masquerade, or wear them when I'm on a hot date with my husband and I want to be flirtatious with him and look pretty for him. Like, that's using my shoes for the honor and glory of God. And there's nothing wrong with that. And so I don't know what it is for you, but I would love to hear that. Is this like jogging anyone's memory? Is there something that you're like, oh my gosh, I have something like that in my past that I can now, you know, bring forward, whether it's like how you do your makeup or whatever. What is something that is maybe from your past that as I'm talking, God is bringing to your memory right now that you might be able to use for his honor and glory instead of using it to honor and glorify your own flesh? What is that for you? I would love to hear from you. There's a lot of people watching right now. Hey, everybody. Hi, Cammie, Paul, Melissa, Sarah, Larry, Teresa. Who's all on here? Crystal, Patty, Dad, Jocelyn, Diana. Well, if you didn't hear me from the beginning, I would love for you to go back and watch the replay. And yeah, God can speak through anything. He can speak through shoes. He can speak through a donkey. He can speak through an unbeliever. He can speak through anything. We just have to really open our eyes and open our ears and open our hearts, because when we're asking God for things, we need to expect an answer. He does talk to us all the time. We just really have to listen. Hey, Melissa, are you still on here? You remember me back in the club days. You know how far I've come. Even though you only see me online now, I haven't seen you in person in years and years and years. checking the time. Everyone's quiet tonight. Everyone's just watching. Everyone's quiet. Isn't it crazy, though, how God can encourage us to get rid of certain things, to lay down certain things, to surrender certain things? And once we have surrendered it all the way, and we've gone through the work, we've made the different changes that we needed to make, it's like God gives it back to us. You know, it's not everything that we surrender is gone forever. Like a lot of the things we surrender actually get given back to us. And so I'm so happy that he gave me back high heels, because I don't want to just wear flats all the time. It's boring. It's boring. Glad he gave me makeup back too, and hair dye, because it was boring there for a while. I did get to the place though that I accepted myself naturally the way God made me. But I also like to wear makeup and stuff. I'm a girly girl. I like makeup. I like high heels. I like to dye my hair sometimes. Except when I bleach it and it breaks off like this last time, and then I started getting bangs in this area, which I never cut bangs, but it was like breaking off. So I think I'm done with hair dye for a while, but I'm not done with makeup or high heels. All right, well, thanks everyone for joining me and hanging out with me for a few minutes. We will definitely do another live on Friday night. I'm actually going to try to do 2 lives a week now for a while. So I am, I'm excited about that. I have a lot of content, so I just need to get it out there. Teresa says, music. It was really hard for me, but God set me free. That's awesome. Yeah, music can be a big one. A lot of times we have to surrender music, or we have to surrender certain types of music, and then later on, God blesses us with it back. One of the things that I thought was going to be gone forever was dancing for me. And, you know, obviously like going to clubs and stuff like that, like I couldn't do that anymore. I still can't do that. I choose not to. But you know, the way God gave it back to me is he started showing me that it was okay to dance during worship. And so man, if you ever see me in church, you'll see that I dance a lot. I can't help but to dance when the music comes on. And so dancing is something he gave back to me. And of course, I took it back by force when I did the masquerade, because we had a whole dance thing there. So, you know, there are certain things that we surrender, and we need to surrender it because we need to change the way we view it. We need to change the way we use it or whatever. But a lot of those things we actually end up getting back. We just get it back in a more holy form or a righteous form. Hey, Shannon. Hi, Tessie. And Janine. Thanks, Teresa. You're sweet. All right, well, I would love to hear your stories. And, you know, when people say things like this, like Teresa, how she mentions, you know, music, that music was something that she had to surrender, but then God was able to give it back to her when he set her free. Like posting things like that helps other people to go, oh my gosh, me too. Or maybe I need to give that up. Or maybe I need to, you know, surrender that. Or maybe I can have that back now. You know, it just really kind of jogs people's memories and gets them thinking about different ways that they can serve the Lord, or different ways that they can interact with him. So I encourage you to say some of those things on here and be vulnerable like I am. Follow me as I follow Christ. Be vulnerable, because it really does help other people. You know, I actually got a message today from a good friend of mine who said, hey, just wanted to let you know that I watched a live video that you did several weeks ago where you were forgiving your husband and different things. And she's like, I realized through that I need to forgive my husband and my kids. So I am meeting with my mentor tonight, and I know how to get unstuck because I learned from the best. And so I'm going to do that tonight. So thank you for being vulnerable. So that's why I do stuff like that. So even if only one person gets something out of it, cool. You know, if 5 people get something out of it, or 10, even better. It's a discipleship movement. So somebody has to start it. So if this helped you at all, please share this with other people or comment below to encourage other people to be vulnerable. That would be awesome. And I am I'm going to get off of here because I need to finish my laundry. I need to finish washing my rugs. All right, you guys have an awesome night.